Yeah, so just pop any questions in the chat box as we're going. But yeah, we'll get started straight away with our mini pads. So tonight we are using a cookery recipe. It's actually called I've got to remember now. The mixed berry pavlova stack. So it is actually a full pavlova recipe, but I just use this one. I know it works really well. And make them into mini pavs. So if you haven't tried this one before and you don't want to make mini pavs, it is delicious to make it as a stack as well. So obviously I've got it saved in our week to cook today. So I'm just going to hit start. And then you'll see if I scroll down on this recipe, there are a few different elements to it because it's a full stack. It does make, this recipe makes the raspberry coulis, the pavlova and a raspberry cream as well. So because we obviously don't want all of that to start with, we just want our pavlova. What we can do on the TM6 is just scroll down to the step that we want to start at. So probably can't see that super clearly, but number 2 is starting the pav. So if I just tap that, it'll take me to exactly where I want to start. And I just don't have to next through those first couple of steps. So I've already got our oven preheating to 150, so I can just press next. And I've got our 2 baking trays lined. And then obviously, again, because this one is a big stack, they want, it's telling us to trace circles on your baking paper, you know, just so you get in the right shape for your stack. But we're not doing that, so we can just skip on past that. And into our Thermomix, we're going to take the lid off and we're going to place 200 grams of white sugar. We'll just press next, popping our lid back on, and we've just got 15 seconds and it's telling us to turn the speed selector to 9. Yeah, Marie, you can use caster sugar. You can use any essentially. What this step is doing is milling that white sugar down for us into an icing sugar. So you see there, it's just become a nice white powder. So just next, place in a bowl and set aside. Obviously, icing sugar is quite a bit more expensive than just white sugar in the supermarket. So just by, you know, milling it down in 15 seconds or so, you can save yourself a bit of money. That's why we're doing that step. But yeah, you could skip, you'd still mill down your caster sugar a little bit to make it nice and fine and just make sure that it integrates into your pav nicely and you're not left with like a grainy pav. But you know, if you did have icing sugar in the cupboard, you could just use that as well and skip past this step. Next, we're just going to place a bit more white sugar, tear those scales. 130 grams. So we're just doing it in 2 lots again, just to make sure that we do mill it down properly, because you just don't want a grainy pav. You want that sugar when we're incorporating it afterwards to incorporate really well and not have, you know, big grainy bits in it. So again, 15 seconds on speed 9. Next. And then, yeah, like I said again, just a nice white powder there. So we're just putting that into the bowl with the other lot and just setting it aside for the time being. That's our first step. Now the Thermomix is telling us to thoroughly clean and dry our mixing bowl. Now this is a super important step for your pavlovas. You want to make sure you've got a very clean and very dry bowl. I'm just going to cheat and get my spare bowl and then just wash this on. That way I know it's perfectly clean and dry and it will work. So your meringue, I think one of the most common reasons people have trouble with meringue is because their bowl isn't completely clean or dry. So if you've got a bit of moisture in your bowl, it's not going to work as well. So swapping our bowls over. Next, we're popping our butterfly in. So just popping your butterfly whisk in. This obviously, those of you who have a TM6 will know, but your TM6 also gives you little videos in some recipes. They're adding to it all the time as well. So just little hints and tips of what to do if you're not quite following the instructions. So the video is always there if you want to. Otherwise, you can keep skipping as well. So next, we're going to put in 250 grams of egg whites. The recipe thinks this is about 8 egg whites. So it was actually 7 when I measured them out. I've already done them all. So save us standing around. And room temperature. So I think for me, one of the most important things with when you're making something like meringue is to make sure that you are following the recipe fully. So it is important that your eggs are at room temperature as well. A pinch of cream of tartar. Now without a measuring cup, so we'll pop our lid on. Next, and now that's just going to cook and kind of whip up a bit for us at the same time. So it's just got it set to 37 degrees, 5 minutes, and to turn the speed selector to 3.5. So that's it. We've just got to keep our lid off for that. And yeah, that you'll hear the changes in meringue, and I'll show you as it's going to make sure that it's working. But while that's cooking, we are going to get our honeycomb going as well. So I'm just going to, hopefully I don't make you motion sick with my camera. I'm just going to move it over to my other Thermomix. Sorry. All right, and who's made honeycomb before? Really quite a bit quicker and easier than what you would ever make it on the stove top. But super delicious and perfect for a nice treat at this time of year. So I've got it saved into my week as well. Honeycomb uses the sugar stages mode on the TM6, and that is kind of like I suppose you'd say almost like a locked mode. So you can only access it through guided cooking. So because it uses the highest heat function. So we're just going to hit the honeycomb. And then hit start cooking. So again, like always, we could scroll down and have a read as well. But we're just going to get going. So the important thing to really note with your sugar stages recipes is that you do need to, if you want them to work, you do need to use the ingredients and follow the instructions exactly as they are. So don't be tempted to, I know we often say, a guided cooking is just a guide. Not so much for sugar stages. If you want it to work, make sure you do follow the recipe. So just hit next. I've already got our baking tray lined, and you want to have your baking soda or bicarb soda ready to go for afterwards. So I do already have that ready. You've got to be quite quick, and you'll see that afterwards. Right, so into our Thermomix, we're going to place 300 grams of white, or you could use brown sugar. I'm not sure if you can hear from there the change in the texture of the egg whites whipping next to me, but they're definitely thickening up as we're going. 80 grams of water. And 20 grams of honey or golden syrup. I like to use golden syrup. I know everyone's a bit different with their honeycomb. Next, and again without our measuring cup. So it sets it for 22 minutes maximum temperature. Like I said, that's using that high heat option that we do have in the TM6. And you'll see the symbol for the sugar stages. So that's just the mode we're using. So the only thing I do change with this recipe is I find that, I do find that it can, if you cook it to the 22 minutes, taste a little bit burnt in my opinion. So I actually just bring it back to about 18 minutes. So other than that, I just have to turn the dial once to start cooking, and that's it for the main part of honeycomb. And then we just have to be prepared, like I said before, to put in the bicarb really quickly.
You want the minions?
Yeah. We'll come back and see that we've got about 40 seconds left on egg whites, and I'm going to try and lift it up there. I don't know if you can see how that's thickening up nicely. It's like a nice cloudy mixture at the moment. So yeah, the TM5 can't make honeycomb, unfortunately. It just doesn't get hot enough. So yeah, like we've got the high heat mode with the TM6. You've also got the sugar stages as well, which gets that kind of 40 degrees hotter than the previous models. So it does make recipes like that possible. I've upset the honeycomb recipe. I stopped it because timer wasn't counting down for some reason after I changed it. Sorry guys, I'm going to have to quickly swap that over and do it again. Sorry, Jackie. Sorry guys. Yeah. Give me 2 seconds. I don't know how I managed to upset that then. When I tried to restart it, because it had already started cooking down, it said that the ingredients differed too much from the recipe. So again, like I said before, you know, like because they're smart appliances, they know when something isn't right and don't like it. So because the sugar stages uses that high heat function, the Thermomix wants it to make sure that, you know, it's not going to burn anything or ruin your machine. It's just an extra kind of protective mechanism. So although it's annoying, it's a good thing. Okay. So while that's cooking away, that step of our pap has finished. And you'll see those egg whites are now a nice fluffy kind of meringue. So we'll just keep on going. So we'll keep the butterfly in place. And now it's pop the lid back on. We've got another 5 minutes at 37 degrees, and down the bottom you'll see it says turn the speed selector to speed 3 and meanwhile follow the following step. So it's 3 and then the following step will come up. So it's just telling us to add that reserved sugar through the hole of the lid. So obviously you've got your hole on the top. So you're just going to add the sugar, just 1 spoonful at a time to make sure it really does incorporate down properly. So you just, yeah, don't want to, I'm just trying to go back a bit, sorry. I hope I'm not making you motion sick. You don't have to be super slow, but you just want to make sure that it does mix in properly. So again, you're not getting a grainy meringue or pub at the end. Anybody have any questions or anything so far? Pop in the chat box if you do. Has anyone made pub before? Or have you used the different, there's a few different pub recipes on Cookadoo. The gingerbread stack looks really good too, I reckon. I might have to give that one a go. What Christmas baking has everyone started? Has anyone started any? Yes, I didn't do a vinegar wash, only because these have come out of the dishwasher, so they had a nice hot clean first. You can do it, yeah, do a vinegar wash if you, you know, instead of like a pre-clean beforehand, just to make sure, yeah, you do get a nice clean bowl. I always find if I've popped them through the dishwasher first that I haven't had a problem. Amanda's made just a standard half in your with your Thermi, Amanda. And you're too scared, Maria. Hopefully this will inspire, because it is so much easier than what you might think. Especially, I don't know, guided cooking just makes everything easier. I think it's true. You don't have to worry as much if it's going to work. I made the like a platter like this last year to take to a friend's house, and I made it into the mixed berry stack as well for Christmas as well last year. So they both do work really well. The stack is delicious as well if anyone wants to try that with the raspberry cream and cool. I don't have to be don't be scared to put in the dishwasher. All dishwasher safe, it's an actual machine. I hope that this Candy wants to try it too. I hope that this helps you kind of give it a go, get brave enough to give it a go this Christmas. Nothing beats a good pub, does it? So you can see, obviously it's giving us the meanwhile instructions down the bottom. Hopefully you can see up the top, it has our settings for us. So we can check how long. I'll probably put that in a little bit quickly while I was talking, but it's not going to matter because we've still got that time to incorporate it all. So you see at the top, we've still got that minute 22, 37 degrees, and so it's doing its thing. And our honeycomb's bubbling away. I don't know if I can, I'll bring you over, hopefully, again, sorry if I don't make your motion see. I'll see if I can bring it up and see if it won't fog up and you can see the. You can see the bubbling away in there. Better in theory, but there's too much steam coming out the top. So I've just got about 30 seconds left on that. And that is done. So just hit next, and that just takes us to the end of that those settings. So just hit next once more. It's just telling us with the butterfly still in place. It's giving us 40 seconds this time with no temperature set. And it's telling us down the bottom to turn the speed selector to speed 3 and meanwhile follow the following step. So we'll just turn it to 3. Now it's just telling us to put in a teaspoon of white vinegar. And this will give us that nice glossy meringue. A teaspoon of vanilla. And then 2 tablespoons of corn flour. Handy's the hole in the lid. All right, we'll just hit next. Again, just takes us to the finish of those settings. And then remove the butterfly whisk and spoon our mixture on. So I'll just show you. Beautiful. Glossy meringue. How good does that look? And that's it. So that's your pave done, and now you can kind of, spoon it out or pipe it out or however you want. So if you're doing too big, you're doing a stack, you do your round circles. I'm just going to get my little baking tray and we'll just spoon a bit out. So what do you reckon, guys? Those of you who haven't made pave before, was that easier than what you thought, or harder, or much the same? Just going to come over here for a second. So I'm just using one of my rose gold, I think this is the medium one, rose gold tray from the mix shop. This one's kind of perfect for the mini meringues because I can just use the little circles to kind of get the right-ish shape. So I'm just going to dollop them on. I had piped them before as well. This is just a bit quicker for us tonight. You can use like the mix shop piping bag is perfect because it's a nice and big one. And then you kind of just give it a little poke in the middle to make little nests out of it. My apron's coming undone because it doesn't do up over my belly anymore. So from here, we're just going to, like I said, you pipe it out, do it however you want to. This is a nice, easy way of doing it though. And then you're going to pop it in the oven. So we've got the oven set to that 150, I think it was. And you just want to do 10 minutes at 150. Like the screen of your Thermomix will obviously explain this for you because you're on Cookadoo. It'll tell you exactly what to do. So I'll just give it a little poke down in the middle to kind of make a bit of a nest, but it doesn't really matter. You can layer up your goodies on top with some cream without having a nest there, that's for sure. So if I go back to the screen of my Thermomix, like I said before, it's going to talk us through it. So bake for 10 minutes at 150 and then reduce the oven temperature to 120 and bake for a further hour. Now, the final step is another really important part with your pavlova is to leave it in the oven overnight or for at least 3 hours. So you want to make sure that you're not opening the door, you're not leaving the door ajar, you are just switching off the oven at the end of that. Actually, sorry, I should have mentioned, because these are mini pavs, we're only going to cook them for that second time for about 45 minutes. But after that time, just switch the oven off and walk away. Like obviously tonight, I'll just leave them in there overnight. Otherwise, your meringue will collapse. So then that's when you're going to get, that really flat, not very exciting pav. So I'll pop that to the side and I'll be back in 2 seconds. Just gonna... You doing something? All right. So like I said before, this recipe has a few more steps to it. So that's why, you can see that it's just going to continue on next and next to finish those off. So all I'm going to do, and what you can do with your TM6 is just press your 3 little dots next to your next button and just hit cancel recipe. It'll just confirm that you do want to cancel it and you just hit yes. So that just saves you kind of going through and just hitting next until you reach the end of the recipe. Just reading a couple of comments. I missed a few, sorry. Yeah, you won't overcook it. Just helps it dry out, Maria, so that, yeah, you do get that nice crust on your meringue and then it doesn't collapse. So obviously you turn your oven off after that hour or 45 minutes, and then it just slowly cools down and dries out that meringue instead of bringing it out into your colder air straight away. So that's the reason why you do that. No more searching to make them yourself. It's so easy. And Jess, I think, I don't know, I made a batch earlier as well. I got at least 12 out of that. Obviously, it just depends on the size that you make it. I would say probably I got maybe 12 to 16 out of the batch earlier. And yeah, decrease your cooking time a little bit. Thanks. And then, all right, so we're going to move on to the next part. So we're just going to finish off with our few sauces and things now. So into my week again. The honeycomb's still bubbling away nicely. We've got about 6.5 minutes left on that. And we're going to go do the fruit coulis this time. So again, like normal, we can scroll down. This recipe is like a, more of a vague recipe. You can use whatever fruit you want. So it's telling us 250 grams of fresh fruit at room temperature. I'm cheating tonight. I'm just using frozen raspberries that have been sitting out for a little while. Sugar and lemon juice. That's all we've got in this one, and we can read down to our hits and tips if we want to. So we're going to hit start cooking, and we're going to place 250 grams of our fruit into our bowl. Next, 75 grams of sugar. We're coming through the sugar tonight, aren't we? This isn't very good for me. I've got just been told I've got gestational diabetes, so I won't be eating any of this good stuff. Andrew's going to be very happy. But Christmas isn't the time to be worrying about that, is it? And then 15 grams of lemon juice. And then we're going to pop the lid on that. Yeah, you can definitely reduce the sugar down in this one. It did say, if I go back a couple of steps, it did say adjust to taste. So you can certainly cut that back if you want to. So we've got 30 seconds on, turn the speed selector to 5 and then increase gradually from speed 5 to 10. So this will be nice and noisy. I'll talk to you in a second. Okay, so that's just blended that down for us into, oh gosh, hang on, let me bring you back a little bit. Into like a, kind of pasty saucy consistency. So scrape down the sides. You're just pushing it all down just so that it does, because this is going to cook the berries down now and the sugar into that coulis. So you want everything right down near the base to heat and cook properly. So I'll pop the lid on. I've got quite a bit on the lid as well, actually, so I'll just scrape it off. Next, and again, obviously we're in guided cooking, so it's all set for us, 5 minutes, 90 degrees and speed 2. So our honeycombs has got about 2.5 minutes left on it now, so I'm going to get ready to do that. So with the honeycomb, obviously it's getting to that really hot temperature and it's bubbling away there. I might see if I can bring it over now. It's not steaming as much and you can see it bubbling. But you do have to work really quickly when it comes time to put your bicarb in. So if you want it to work, you want a nice fluffy, nice aerated honeycomb, you do need to work really quickly with your bicarb. You can just see that bubbling away there. So I've got, yeah, about 1:45 left on that. So I'm just going to make sure I have my trays ready, my spatula ready. I just use, a bit naughty this one, I just use a different spatula that I like, a nice, really flexible silicone one, because I just find I can get in there and mix it really quickly and easily with that one. So I've got my bicarb ready to go, and you put in 1 to 2 tablespoons of that. I've got my line tray ready to go. Because what you want to do, I'll talk you through it and I'll show you as we're doing it, but you want to move really quickly. So you want to, as soon as it's finished, you want to mix your 1 to 2 tablespoons in. You'll see it kind of fluff up nicely, and then you want to pop it on your tray straight away. So it will start to harden and thicken up really quickly. So yeah, you do need to move quickly and yeah, for it to work. I also find a little trick, that's why I've got 2 little dishes here, because the first couple of times I made it, you know, I find like you're trying to scrape the last little bit out, and I was dumping it onto the kind of pile of honeycomb, so to speak, and then that gave it really dense pieces, I found. So I put all of, like, you know, try and get the big first scrape out on my main tray, and then I just have a little dish on the side that I kind of scrape out the rest of the bowl with it. I find that bit isn't as kind of fluffy and aerated, so I put that on the side. It's still delicious, but if you dump it into the actual honeycomb mixture, it just gives you a nice, thicker density. So I'm going to pop you down so you can see what I'm doing as I'm doing it. So obviously, like, this screen will talk you through the rest of it if you need to. So I'll bring that over and show you that. And into there, we're going to pop our 1 to 2 tablespoons of bicarb soda. So I just do 1 and a bit. And then just mix it through nice and quickly. And it'll start fluffing up as you're doing it. You can see. See that fluffing up there nicely. All right, now I'm going to get it out of the bowl. So it's already starting to harden up. There's a bit too much talking. So you just kind of want to, yeah, get it out as quick as you can. See, that is already pretty hard. So then all you want to do is just make sure the sugar stages in this recipe have cleaning built into it. So it uses the cleaning the inbuilt clean, self-clean mode, pre-clean is the word I'm looking for, of the TM6. So all you want to do, and it tells you again, is you want to make sure that you can kind of get off as much as you can from the rim of your bowl straight away so that your lid will go back on so that you can clean it. All right, so I'll come back, I'll show you those in a second. Go back over here. So obviously that talked us through exactly what we wanted to do then. So quickly stir, your 1 to 2 tablespoons of baking soda, quickly stir them in with a spatula until the mixture foams up, and then transfer immediately onto a prepared baking tray before caramel cools in the mixing bowl, and then scrape the rim of the bowl. And then you're going to add in a litre of water. So I'll just do that quickly. So it's just putting on a pre-clean now. Next, popping your lid on. That's why you need to clean that rim so your lid goes on properly. Oops. And that'll start the pre-clean. So this, I'll come back over here now. So that's our honeycomb. Spatula is going to be rock hard now. And so all we do now is just leave that to cool at room temperature. So the white doesn't take very long at all. That'll be ready to break up by the end of our virtual in another 10 minutes or so. So I'm just going to pop that to the side. Have a nice little fluffy. I don't really know how to describe it really. It'll harden up as in a couple of minutes. It doesn't take long at all. That's why you've got to move so quickly with it. Any questions about honeycomb, or has anyone made it before? Those of you who have a TM6? There's really not a lot to do. Like, it is very little hands-on time. The key is just to move really quickly when you do, when you are mixing the bicarb. All right, so our raspberry coulis is finished, or just about over here, yeah. And we would just leave it to cool before serving it. So it's kind of a little bit thinner than a jam, really, like just a bit runny out. So I'll pop that. It's made a mess on my therming. Pop that in our little serving jar, and then I'm just going to pop the rest in a jar to pop in the fridge because there is a bit there. So I'll just get that out of the way. Do one more. No, one more. All right, just pour up. Yeah, a little mess. So to finish that recipe, and then again back into my week. And then we're going to do a chocolate sauce. So again, like normal, we can scroll down if we want to, otherwise we just hit start cooking. So into there, we're going to put 250 grams of dark chocolate. Next, pop the lid on. And oops, pressed it too many times. This is just going to grate down that chocolate, just makes it quicker to melt. So 10 seconds on speed 9, again, really noisy for a second. Hopefully we didn't wake the kids. And so just grate that chocolate. So it does melt heaps quicker and you know, more evenly. Just having it grated down. So into there, we're just going to put 40 grams of unsalted butter, just diced up. So just remembering to tear our scales. Next, 200 grams of milk. I'll just grab that out of the fridge, sorry. And I'm going to pop our lid on. And then we've just got 4 minutes cooking each time at 100 degrees and down the bottom of science to turn out to be 52. So while that's cooking, the honeycomb bowl is finished washing. So I'll just get rid of that. I'll show you how. Sorry, over here again. It did leave a little bit around the top, which I will have to scrub, but otherwise I'll tip it out and show you how well it cleans. So obviously, like, yeah, we will have to get that bit at the top, and that's, you know, you could save yourself by cleaning it better around the rim. But otherwise, the bowl is pretty well cleaned. So just saves you cleaning and scrubbing that bowl clean after that hot, sticky mess by doing the pre-clean straight away. So we've finished that recipe. And then lastly, we're just going to whip some cream because it's not pad without cream, is it? So we'll just go back into my wheat. This is something you could whip your cream. Just, you know, when you get used to your Thermomix, you can just do it off the top of your head by putting your butterfly in and, you know, turning your speed up a little bit. But otherwise, there is a whipped cream. So you've got your real basics on Cookadoo as well, just to help you do that. So let's hit start cooking. Again, it's telling us to pop our butterfly in. Yeah, I suppose you could use milk chocolate as well. I've only done that one with dark chocolate. So I can't see why you couldn't do milk. And into there, just telling us to pop between 200 and 600 grams of cream. Pop the whole bottle in. Next. And then I just personally, I like to pop a bit of vanilla in my whipped cream. So I'm just going to add that in as well. Completely up to you. You don't have to do that. This recipe just has the cream by itself, but I just do like it with a bit of vanilla. And then pop our lid on. And then it's telling us down the bottom to turn the speed selector to 3 and meanwhile follow the following steps. So we're just watching it carefully and listening to make sure that it doesn't overwhip. So you'll see this recipe actually doesn't have a time set because you can do between 200 and 600 grams. The whipping time is going to be significantly different for both of those. So you just want to watch and listen. You'll hear the changes in the cream to know when it is ready. It really doesn't take long at all in your Thermomix. I don't know if you've whipped with hand beaters or in a mixer before, but this takes a fraction of the time. So just keeping an eye on it through the lid. I've taken off the measuring cup. starting to thicken up a little bit. You do, obviously, you want to make sure that you're not overworking it and making the platter. But if you're keeping an eye on it, you'll be fine. Chocolate sauce is finished on another Thermomix. So I'll show you that one when it's looking away. There we go. Chocolate sauce is all done there. So we're just going to pop that on our platter as well. Thickens up a little bit as it cools too, the chocolate sauce. So that kind of looks quite runny. But as it cools down to kind of a room temperature, it'll thicken up a bit more. In there. It's a fresh batch of cream, so it's taking, and they got it this morning, taking a bit longer than what, you know, one that's closer to expiry would. I don't know if you can hear well enough the changes in the noise as it whips. Definitely getting there now. Now it's stopped sloshing. I'm just going to stop it and have a look, and then we can keep going if we need to, because obviously, yeah, we don't want to overbeat it. So it's thickening up, but not there quite yet. So we'll just stop it and then we'll restart again. This bit, now that it's thickened and you can't hear it sloshing around, this will go really quickly. So this is when you do need to watch it quite closely, because it goes from, you know, not ready to over ready very quickly. So I'll just stop and start a little bit because it's hard. I find it hard to tell as it's spinning how thick it is. So it's much better. I reckon just a couple more seconds and we'll be there. Sorry, pop that again. Perfect. All right, and then that's done. That's your cream whipped as well. So it's all really like hands-free. That's, I think, the big, the amazing thing with all of these sauces and things. You know, if you are making them for a platter or anything like that, you just pop them on and walk away. You know, you might only have one bowl or one Thermomix, but it's, yeah, you can do it just throughout the day as you're doing other things. I'm just going to grab a platter. And we'll just start serving it all, or preparing it all up. So I did, obviously, in saying that we need to keep our meringues in the oven overnight, I did make some earlier in the day today. So it's just some little kind of nesty pavlovas. The lighting's not helping because they're so bright. Into that one, I've popped our raspberry coulis. Into this one, I'm just going to pop our chocolate sauce. To the other one, we'll pop our cream. Actually, that needs a few more seconds, sorry. Still a little bit runny. I can just go backwards, that's all I'm doing, just using that back arrow and just turning that back on. And then we just break up our honeycomb. So you can try and, it's quite cool down there. It's just a little cool better. You can, I've forgotten what I was saying now, sorry. Pop our cream in that one. And then we just break up our honeycomb. I'm not sure how this is going to go. It's not quite cooled down completely, so we'll see if it. Not cool. I might not be able to break it up yet, sorry for you. But then I just break up. You can try and cut it with a knife a little bit to get, you know, a bit more squares or whatever shapes you would like. But otherwise, just break it up with your hands and just pop it on the platter on the side, just to whatever size you want. You can also dip your honeycomb in chocolate, which is really delicious as well. So last year, I know when I made it, I dipped some of my strawberries in chocolate. Like obviously melted it down in my Thermomix, just, you know, grating it first and melting it down, and then dipping the honeycomb and the strawberries in there, which is a really nice touch as well. No, they don't go brown, Marie, at all. Like I said, when you're turning your oven off for the night, it just helps them dry out, really, so they don't collapse. So I'm sorry that honeycomb's not quite cool enough to break up. It's just a bit soft still, so it really needs to dry out to room temperature to break up, so that you can pop it on there. So that's it, guys. That's our grazing platter done in just under an hour. We did well. Anybody got any questions or anything? Anyone going to give it a try? I'll pop a picture up with our honeycomb shortly. I think it probably maybe just another 5 or 10 minutes, and that would be nice and cool enough to break up. But if I try and break it now, it's just kind of it's a bit soft, like it doesn't dry out to crunch, so it won't break as such. It'll just. Thank you, guys. Yeah, I've seen the shapes too. They look amazing when they work, but I'm not sure if I could get them to work, to be honest. They have to work really quickly. Yeah, any questions, pop them in the chat box. Thank you so much for joining me. I'd love to know if anybody does make any pavs or a grazing platter or anything that we've made tonight. Please let me know how you go. And if you've got any questions while you're making it or anything, just give me a buzz. I'm more than happy to help at any stage. So yeah, thank you so much. Thanks for joining me. I'm running another little Christmas virtual next week, Wednesday, I think. We're going to make a little mocktail and some tiramisu. That'll be a nice quick one as well. So feel free to join me on that one if you like. But thank you so much. Merry Christmas. Thank you, everyone.